Hello everyone and welcome to Sinful Gaming. I hope you're all doing well, I hope you're all staying safe, and most of all, I hope you're all fighting that war against the grey. Today we have a start collecting Warcry video for you, and this time we're going to be looking at the Chaos Warband Scions of the Flame. The Scions of the Flame are one of the two warbands you can get in the Age of Sigmar Warcry Catacombs starter box. They are the Chaos Warband that comes from the Realm of Fire. They're one of the many different cultist warbands that are available to play as sort of a main Chaos faction. They're one of the specific Warcry factions. So let's talk a little bit about exactly what we're going to get inside a box of Scions of the Flame, because this is one of the boxes I think with a ton of options within it on how you can build your minis. So for starters, it's worth mentioning that you can either buy this box as a single loadout of the unit, so you get one set of models and cards, or you can buy it as a double box where you get two lots of the models but you won't get any of the cards. While I can see variances, and I guess there are benefits to doing both, buying a dual box of this gets you more models for a cheaper cost. However, I do find in Warcry the cards are really useful, so I do tend to myself go down that route. Though you can easily find rules for the cards in particular books, like the Catacombs book, and you can also find the cards other ways as well, online, etc. But let's start talking about what exactly we are getting inside this box. And so, for starters, you're going to get one Blazing Lord. This is the guy with a big sort of flamberge looking sword on the left there, the samurai-like armor. He is a pretty beastly character. I mean, he's got 20 wounds, toughness of 4. He only moves 4 though, so he is quite ponderous, but he does have 2/6 as his damage on the weapon. Pretty nasty there, with 4 attacks and a strength of 5. He is fairly decent in a fight. He will, against most other Warband's leaders, especially the other Chaos Champion leaders, he's easily one of the most powerful ones in the game, and he will put some work in for you. We next have the Brazen Champion, who's the guy with the giant axe that's sort of flaming as he lifts it back there in the back in the middle. He's pretty decent as well, another really strong character. He's actually got 3/6 on his damage profile and 5 strength. He's only got 3 attacks though, so he gets a bit of extra damage on general. He's also only got 18 wounds compared to the 20, but he's another sort of really elite character you can take within the force. Pretty great little unit there. Then got the Inferno Priest, who is, well, our priest. Got some cool little range damage at 2/4 with strength of 3 and 2 attacks, but also 2/4 in combat as well with 3 attacks and strength of 4, so can put out a decent amount of damage and give you some range, which is really nice with the army as well. Also got some really cool abilities you can play off this character. The Immolator is the character front and center that is on fire. 2/5 for the damage, 15 wounds, which you can sort of see is a very common thing. A lot of the models here have a very decent wound capacity. You've got a lot of options for high wound models, which is really nice. We've then got the Immolators. Now, there are a couple of variations of Immolators here. You can see these are the characters on the far right in the armor. You've got the one there that's got his sort of flaming hook axe and dagger, and the other one with the sort of spiked sickle, buckler, and dagger as well. So in this box set, you get the options of, you get to build one Immolator that looks exactly like the one you can see with the axe and the dagger. You've only got him to option. However, the other one has a few different options you can take. The other Fireborn can either be with a Sunblade and Chris, or with a Sunblade and Brazier Axe. So you can either have the Chris, which he's got there, or he can have the Sunblade and Brazier Axe as well, which is pretty cool. So there's those options to play around with there as well. A couple of different things they can do. You then got Initiates, and the Initiates here have a few different options. You've only got 2 of them in the box set, though there are a ton of options, so buying multiple of this box set does allow you to play with a few different variations. But the Initiate, the female one there, you can see she's either got a Brazier Weapon or Flame Burst Pot, and the other one's either got a Morningstar Flame Burst Pot and a Hooked Axe option. So you've got a ton of different options in those Initiates, despite only getting 2 models. So, like I said, this is a great little box. You've got plenty of options in them. But let's start looking at how we can expand upon this and what we sort of want out of that second box. So, options. I mentioned this before, that you've obviously got extra Initiate and Fireborn build options within the box. So, straight away, this is, I guess, the main reason to pick up a second box, or pick up the dual box, is you've got these varying options you can do with a bunch of the models, so you're not going to double up on any standard sculpts straight away. You've got these options to play around with, and you've easily got 3 models within the box that are going to be non-duplicates despite buying a duplicate box, if that makes sense at all. However, one I recommend maybe doubling up on for some of the more elite characters is you've got the Brazen Champion. He can be pretty decent. Now, the reason I suggest him, I guess, more than a few of the others is, or like, you know, the Immolator or the Priest, is because his ability runs on a double. So he's got Beheading Strike, which is his double ability, and the other ones like the Immolator and the Priest require triples or quads, which you're not going to get an awful lot of, but you could easily get a couple of doubles to really make your Brazen Champions do some work in a round of combat. So that's why I recommend maybe there's an option of picking up a second Brazen Champion and running a Warband with a double Brazen Champion potentially, because you're going to get the access to those doubles a lot easier than some of the other ways. So let's start talking about the abilities for the Scions of the Flame. To start with, we've got Fiery Might. This is available to use by any model from the Scions of the Flame. So what this does, until the end of this fighter's activation, you add half the value of this ability, rounding up, to the strength characteristic of attack actions made by this fighter that have a range of 3 or less. Pretty cool. So this just puts a little bit of extra sort of fighting power onto your main strike. Then got Beheading Strike. This can be used by both your Blazing Lord and your Brazen Champion. And what this is this is the double I was alluding to before that, you know, can sort of make double Brazen Champions work, is add half the value of this ability, rounding up to the damage points allocated by critical hits from the next action made by this fighter this activation that has a range of 3 or less. So you can really do some damage, as, you know, the Brazen Champion and the Blazing Lord both have a crit value of 6, so you can really pump up some damage. They can really do some nasty things when you get this off in high crit values. You then got double for Throw Firebomb. This is useful by some of the Fireborn and some of the Initiates. A few models around the Force can do this. You effectively get to do some damage by throwing out some fireballs at your opponent, so a nice little extra ranged damage output, which is nice. Inferno is used by the Immolator only, so you roll a dice for each visible enemy fighter within 3 inches of this fighter. On a 4 to 5, you allocate 1 damage point to them. However, on a 6, you allocate a number of damage points equal to the ability. So you could try and run this guy into a bunch of enemy models, and if you get a good sort of triple roll here, you could really do some work with it. We then got Ignited Fervor. So this is an ability that can only be used by your Blazing Lord. So until the end of the battle round, add 1 to the attack characteristic of attack actions that have a range of 3 or less made by friendly fighters while they're within 6 inches of the fighter. So it's effectively your Blazing Lord sort of just inspiring his men around them to get some more heads rolling of the enemy. And lastly, your quad is Engulfing Flames. This is used by the Inferno Priest. So this is pretty good. One of the nicest quad abilities, I think, in the game. Pick a visible enemy fighter within 3 inches of the fighter and roll 6 dice. For each 2+, allocate a number of damage points to the fighter equal to half the ability, the value of this ability, rounding up. In addition, for each 6, you roll 1 extra dice as above, and so on. You keep going until you stop rolling 6s. Pretty cool. I mean, on average, you can only roll 1 6 on your first 6. That's the law of average. But, you know, it's quite easy to see this just getting lucky and going nuts and just killing something start to finish. It's a really cool ability. I love it. So we've put together a little sample force here. Now it's worth mentioning that everything you get inside the box you can build in any variation, and you will have a legal 1000 point or 1000 renown army to start with. But I thought we'd show some options on how we can do things a little bit different, maybe with a couple of boxes put together. So we've gone for a Blazing Lord, who we have to have because he's the only character that can be our leader within this warband. And then we've got 2 Brazen Champions. We've already talked a little bit in the video of why I like Brazen Champions. Then we've got an Inferno Priest and an Immolator. This is making sure we can use our triple and quad abilities, because if we don't have them, we really just sort of waste those things. We've then got 1 Initiate with Brazier Weapon and Flame Burst Pot, and 2 Initiates with Flame Burst Pots. This takes us to 980 renown. Pretty little cool force here. The reason I've gone for this is, well, for me, I think really you're wanting to take those Flame Burst Pots and just try and get more range damage out of those Initiates. They don't do much otherwise anyway, so it's not really that big a deal not having any of the others. You could probably, actually, thinking of this, you could all make them all Brazier Weapons and Flame Burst Pots. I think we've got the points for it. But this is just going on the models you're going to have available without having to convert any. But if you want to convert, you could easily fit them all into Brazier Weapons and Flame Burst Pots. So pretty cool there. This just focuses around your main sort of characters being your Blazing Lord and your 2 Brazen Champions. They're going to go around killing stuff. Meanwhile, you've got these other bits and pieces to sort of capture objectives and do all the other stuff and add range damage, taking out things that I guess are trying to run away from your slower characters in the center. But I'd like to know what you're doing with the Scions of the Flame. Let us know in the comments below. Let us know how your warbands are looking. Well, we hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. And also, while you're at it, why don't you come join our Discord server? You can chat to me and other members of our fine little community here at Sinful Gaming. You can do so by following the link to our Discord server, which is in the description of the video. Lastly, I'd like to give a shout out to everyone who helps support the channel financially via Patreon and YouTube members. Thank you to our Patreon supporters Christian Weir, James Soren, Chaos Spawn, AJC, Kenny Lowell, Alder and Shot First, James Crowder, Andrew Bowen, Nathan Fee, Tim Newman and The Rising Ape. And thank you to our YouTube members Green Roots Gaming and Fire Titan. Thank you all for supporting the channel, and if you'd like to help support the channel like these fine people do, you can do so by clicking one of the links down to either our Patreon or our YouTube members in the description of the video as well. Thank you all for watching, everyone, though. Stay safe, stay well, and most of all, keep fighting that war against the Grey. Ciao for now.